Good afternoon, you wonderful bunch of humans. Welcome back to another Chart Nerd TA video. First off, I wanted to wish everybody a happy new year. I wish you nothing but good health, great love, and good guidance throughout this year of 2023. Now, diving into this, first off, I wanted to apologize for not getting any content out for the past 4 to 5 weeks. The latter part of 2022 was a very emotional and tough time for me and my family. We incurred some loss and we had some time to grieve, and it's taken quite a while to go into the new year, you know, at Christmas without certain people around in our family. And it's been a very, very tough time for my family, and there was a lot of chaos in our lives and not much order. So we kind of had to balance out the scales. I took some time away from crypto and spent it with my family. So I do apologize for not getting any content out in the past month or so. I hope to be back on track every day from now on in with at least a couple of coins moving forward, trying to build up, working our way up to a few more in the coming weeks. And off of that point, first off, I wanted to dive into a project I haven't looked at for a long time now. I was involved back in Telcoin back in early 2021. But yeah, the ticker is TEL against USDT. It's on the monthly time frame, and we're looking at the KuCoin exchange chart here on TradingView. So first off, I wanted to dive in here and show you what I'm looking at for Telcoin. Potentially for me, I think even though we've had this short-term rally here for a couple of months, I still think there's potential downside to come for Tel, and I'm going to explain to you guys why in this video. I'm going to try and keep it as short, as sweet, and simple as possible. I can overcomplicate things sometimes, so do forgive me if I do babble on into some areas for too long or get a bit mixed up in some points. But again, it's all trial and error. I'm a very sort of fresh YouTuber and trying to get my hands onto these things with editing skills and blah blah blah. You know, I'm a very not very tech savvy, should I say, in regards to how to use computers and stuff. So, but anyways, getting into this, guys. Okay, so we're looking at Telcoin here. This is on the monthly time frame. I always like to zoom out, get a better perspective, keep the charts very simple. Not much on here at the moment. Again, I've got this ascending level of resistance and this ascending level of support, and in some way you can see that Telcoin is in some sort of channel here where it's, you know, adhering to this resistance and kind of adhering to the support if we're lucky enough for this to come into fruition here. I do think potentially, just from looking at these trend lines, I will get into some more you know, actual indicators in a second. Anyone can draw on trend lines, for God's sake, of course. But again, if you look here from pre-pandemic levels in 2019, this wick here, you had these wicks here, and you had this higher level of support here. So you had a continuous ascending level of support, and you also had a descending level of resistance here for Tel. That once you did break out, you could see you had this whopping bull run. I think that was about 55,000% off this low, if I'm not 48,000% bull run for Telcoin, of which, you know, I was fortunate enough to experience the last couple of months of that. I took some profits out and I diversified them into some other altcoins, and I've been DCAing into them ever since the bear markets. Okay, guys. So again, I'm not a day trader. I'm not here to get into daily trades for you or anything like that. I am sorry. I like to look at the macro scale, the more zoomed out perspective, and kind of get a better trajectory of potentially where certain coins could be heading. So if we do look at Telcoin here, as I said, you was coiling up in this this horizontal triangle here, high levels of support. Okay, you eventually broke out and you had this insane bull run of where you put in the all-time high for Telcoin. Now, what I wanted to point out to you guys was, since breaking out of, since breaking out of this level of resistance here for Tel, okay, we haven't actually back tested it as support. Okay, so you had this area here where you had resistance, and you had resistance again a couple of times here. Again, you was putting in higher lows. Okay, you was putting in higher lows, and you could see you had 3 points of contact, 1, 2, 3 of levels of resistance, and you had 3 points of contact, 1, 2, 3 of support, and this is where you eventually broke out. Okay, after those 3 points of contact on either trend line of this horizontal triangle that Telcoin was in here. So again, what I'm looking for here, or what I think is a potential play for Tel, is that you are going to be potentially coming back down to backtest this area of support. Now, why is this an interesting area to me? Well, again, as I said, you had this ascending level. Okay, you had this ascending level of support here for Telcoin, and once we saw Telcoin break out, okay, and reach this bull run, you haven't back tested this area for support at all. Okay, you can see you melted faces, okay, and that was a whopping bull run. but you haven't backtested previous resistance and turned it to support. So in my eyes, as long as you're in this downtrend here on the monthly, I'm going to go from the candle closes on the monthly. What I think Telcoin's looking to do is work its way down back to these pre-pandemic levels of resistance and turn them into support. And as I said, at the same time, you would be adhering to this trend line where you held support previously before the bull run, okay, where you're getting higher highs. So it wouldn't surprise me if you were starting to come back down to these levels, and you could see that if you was to come back down to this ascending trend line that we've been holding for a few years, it does tie up with this red box of support of previous resistance prior the pandemic. So it's very simple. Again, you don't need to overcomplicate your charts, guys. Just keep it simple. Support, resistance, zoom out, look at the macro scale, and you'll get a better picture of the environment that we're potentially in. So what I'm looking at here for TEL at the moment, again, okay, as I said, you've got this resistance that since you've entered the bear market, you can see that this point has always been resistance for Telcoin. Even after this recent rally, again, you've run into this point of contact of resistance that you've been doing for many months now, okay, for over a year. So this is a very strong resistance line, and we keep getting rejected by it. So the confirmational signal for me to say that, okay, that these potentially, this is the low, and it's only up from here, is if you come down, hold support, break out of this trend line, confirm that as support, and start to melt onwards up to previous levels of resistance, okay? That would be your confirmation signal, I think, tackling out of that, getting above some of these EMAs here. Again, this is the 10 EMA, this blue line is the 10 EMA. You can see we're meeting that as resistance at the moment. But again, what I think TEL will need to do is break this trend line, get back above these EMAs, hold them as support, okay, and this is where you could get the continuation back up to the all-time highs. But again, I don't think at the moment, I don't think this is the case for TEL here. I really don't. And why? Again, why? Okay, so you've got this trend line of resistance, you've got this previous resistance that you broke out of back before COVID, okay, or just after COVID, and you haven't backtested it as support. So that's 2 points right there, okay? You've got this resistance you haven't backtested as support, and you've also got this resistance, this descending resistance line that we're failing to break out of. Now, it's not to say that you can't experience bear market rallies on projects and altcoins, because you can. Let's say, for example, from this low here, people would have got excited where TEL sort of come up 200% the next month, but that was short-lived, and again, you met this resistance and you started to come down again for a few months, okay? So you had this low here, right? You had this low here. People got excited because it started to, you know, it went up 200%, but then again, this trend line was resistance. You eventually came down, lost this low, turned that into resistance with another rally, okay? So this is the second rally that you know, of a few that TEL had. You had this 200% rally here, okay, and then you had this from this low, you turned that previous support into resistance with a rally of 111%, okay, and then again you lost that low, and right now from this low you've had another rally of around 185%. So these rallies are very common in bear markets, but they don't necessarily intend that you are at a bottom or a bear market low for the project, okay? So you do get these rallies, but you can see each time you have run into this resistance line regardless of these near 200% pumps, okay? So they're very common to incur during a bear market, and a lot of people get misguided and think, okay, the coin's up 200% now, it must mean that the bear market lows are in, and that's it, it's moon from here. Well, again, I'm sorry, unfortunately it doesn't work like that. And another thing that people get misguided with is that from its all-time high, TEL is currently down 97%. So when someone thinks of that from an alternative perspective, okay, this project was an all-time high of this price, but now it's 97% cheaper, surely it's a no-brainer. Well, it's not always the case, and I'll tell you why, because even from this 97% drawdown mark, if TEL was to retrace back down to these previous resistance points and this ascending trend line, you could see you could still have a potential 70 to 75% correction, even though you are down 97% as an overall for the coin since its all-time highs. So it doesn't mean you still can't incur large losses at this point, even though you are down 97%. So guys, do bear that in mind, keep that in mind moving forward. And yeah, so what this voice basically points out is that even if you do DCA, sometimes it's very tricky to think, okay, this is the point I need to get involved. This is the lows. No, it's not. Okay, you know, you don't want to trade on emotion. You don't want to trade on emotion. Trade on data, on charts, and on-chain analytics. And, you know, again, not financial advice. Everyone has their own methods. But for me, this chart here just indicates, okay, that we're looking to come back and backtest previous areas of resistance that we haven't backtested since we broke out. Okay, it's how coins and things like that work. It's a simple game of resistance, support and resistance. And as I said, these EMAs are also very... I'm going to change this blue one quickly into a lighter blue because you can't really see it. But these EMAs here are, you know, they show us, they give us key indications when you're in an uptrend. Okay, so when you're above these EMAs, when the price gets above... okay, is above these lines, these moving averages, you can see you're in an uptrend. When the price starts to come below them and you turn them to resistance, like right here, you had the death cross of the 10 and the 20, that indicates a strong downtrend. Okay, so they work in opposites. You get bull crosses and death crosses. Okay, so here would have been a bull cross. The blue overtook the yellow line, bull market. Okay, now when this blue started to come below the yellow line, you had a death cross, indicates a bear market. Okay, so again, EMAs are very, very useful. To get onto your charts. And right now what you can see for Telcoin here is that on this recent pump off of this low, so you had this low, off of this low, you pumped up, you ran into the 10 EMA, okay, and that 10 EMA tied up bang on with this resistance line that you've been under for many moons in this bear market for Tel. So what I'm looking for here, I again, just to quickly go over this, every time Tel has come down and had a relief rally, the months after those relief rallies, you've experienced more downside to a new low. And then you've had the low, you've had a rally, and then you've lost that low and put in more downside. Okay, so now you've got this low, you've got a rally. What I think is going to happen is you're going to come down, lose this low again, and potentially come back down into this area of support here for another rally. And at this point, I think it would make its mind up, get squeezed into a corner, and here we'll decide, okay, are we going to break out here and adhere to this trend line that we've been holding since 2019, or are we going to lose that, turn it to resistance, and still come down even further, potentially retesting the actual local lows of pandemic levels? So it's a lot to look out for. I don't think this trend is over. I do think we have got, you know, after this 185% move, I do think we are potentially looking to come back down to these sort of levels here, retest previous resistance, turn it to support. Okay, so you broke out here, all-time high, come back for support, okay, on the previous resistance, and look for a bounce. Okay, and this is where potentially you get your bounce. There's quite a few things that are tying up with that. Okay, quite a few things are tying up with it. One more thing that I wanted to point out to you guys before I go. I'm going to get these EMAs back off here, but there's a fib. Okay, so we're going to get a fib on from this local high right here, retracing back to our current low. Now, what's funny is if this local low is lost, okay, so after every rally, you can see in this bear market, the lows get lost. Okay, so you had the rally here, lows got lost. You had a rally here, lows got lost. Had a rally here. If these lows get lost, then these are my targets for you guys, okay, because you can see, again, if you tie up the 1272 and the 1618, back down to where we had this box, you can see that these levels, okay, right here on this chart, on this Fibonacci, okay, tie up exactly with these levels that you had pre-pandemic before you broke out. Okay, so from this high, retracing to this low, if this low is lost, this one fib at 111, okay, then for me, these are your targets based on fib, based on support, previous resistance looking to turn to support, and also based off of this ascending trend line. I'm sorry, that's so wonky, that I had on a couple of minutes ago. So again, guys, be very, very cautious here. Be very, very cautious here. Not financial advice. That's a quick update for you on Tel. If this one fib is lost and we do retrace and lose that, I am looking for these lower targets back down to previous resistance levels before the pandemic. So I hope you enjoyed today's content. If you did, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell. Until next time, I'll be back with some more updates. Take care. Peace out.